Have you ever noticed how tightly your shoulders are pulled toward your ears when you are just sitting on the couch? Or how your jaw is clenched even though you are completely safe in your living room? We carry an invisible weight every single day, convincing ourselves that if we just keep moving, we will outrun our exhaustion. But your body has been keeping score, and it is tired. Before we go any deeper into this conversation, take a slow breath. If you are ready to let go of that armor, leave an affirmation in the comments right now. Something simple, like, "I am allowed to rest," or "My body is safe to soften." Let that be your first step toward pausing today. We live in a loop of constant readiness. You finish a long project, and instead of taking a moment to breathe, your mind instantly shifts to the next commitment. You look at your phone, scrolling through reminders, adjusting your calendar, or rewriting your daily checklist for the third time, feeling an artificial urgency that never actually leaves. This is not just a busy mind. It is an exhausted system that has forgotten how to put its guard down. You are not lazy for wanting to stop. You are simply human, trying to sustain an impossible pace. Think about how you got here. This armor you wear did not appear overnight. It was built piece by piece, day after day, out of a need to protect yourself from the pressure around you. Maybe you had to be the strong one for so long that you forgot how to be anything else. Maybe you learned that your safety depends on your utility, believing that if you stop being useful, you stop being secure. So, you hardened your exterior. You made yourself a shield against the endless demands of life, convincing your mind that being on edge was the only way to stay ahead of the collapse. But armor is heavy. It was never meant to be worn to sleep. It was never meant to be a permanent skin. Right now, feel the physical reality of that weight. It is in the shallow pattern of your breath, the tightness in your lower back, and the quiet, persistent ache in your temples. Your system is constantly bracing for an impact that has already passed, or one that hasn't even arrived. You are treating the quiet spaces of your life as if they are battlefields, waiting for the next crisis to drop. This is what chronic fatigue feels like. It is the exhausting consequence of a body that has forgotten how to believe it is safe. It is the exhaustion of keeping watch at a door that no one is trying to break down. When you look at your schedule, you might think the problem is just a lack of time. But you could have an entire weekend with nothing to do, and your body would still feel like it is running a marathon. That is because true rest cannot begin until the alarm system inside you is turned off. You cannot recover while you are still holding your breath. It takes immense emotional energy to keep yourself contained, to keep pushing through the warning signs, and to fake a sense of vitality when you feel completely hollow inside. You have been doing the impossible for far too long, and your body is finally shouting what your mind has been trying to ignore. Let yourself acknowledge the sheer exhaustion of trying to hold everything together. Acknowledge how terrifying it feels to consider dropping your guard even for an hour. It feels like if you let go of the tension, you might break completely. But the opposite is true. Softening is not weakness. It is the reclamation of your life. It is the moment you stop fighting your own limitations and finally choose to ally with your well-being. It is looking at the heavy shield you have carried for years and gently laying it on the floor. So, let this moment be a quiet sanctuary. You do not have to figure everything out right now. You do not have to fix your whole life in this instance. The daily checklist can wait. The calendar can remain unchanged. And the notifications can sit in the dark. For the next few minutes, your only responsibility is to exist without defense. Let the chair hold you. Let the floor support your weight. Let your muscles remember what it feels like to not be prepared for a crisis. Take another breath, slower this time, and allow the armor to slip away. You are here. You are breathing. And you are finally allowed to just stop. Your body does not communicate in words. It talks to you through a sudden tightness in your chest, a persistent heaviness in your limbs, or that afternoon fog that settles over your thoughts no matter how much caffeine you drink. When we ignore these signs, we are essentially turning down the volume on a voice that is begging for help. Think about the last time you sat down to read a book or watch a movie, but your mind kept pacing, insisting that you should be doing something useful. That inner restlessness is a sign that your baseline has become set to survival mode. We often treat our energy like an endless bank account, pulling from it day and night, assuming a few hours of uneasy sleep will balance the books. But genuine recovery requires a different kind of permission. It asks you to acknowledge that your fatigue is real, that it is valid, and that it cannot be fixed by simply rearranging your schedule or ignoring the tension in your back. Listening starts when we stop trying to outsmart our own limits. Think about how long your system has been whispering to you. It started so quietly. A little trouble falling asleep, a slight irritability over things that usually wouldn't bother you, or that constant feeling of being rushed even when you have nowhere to be. But when we don't listen to the whisper, the body is forced to start shouting. The shout is that morning where you wake up feeling like you haven't slept at all. It is that sudden, overwhelming wave of emotion that hits you in the middle of a perfectly normal afternoon, leaving you on the verge of tears for no apparent reason. Your system is crying out, trying to tell you that it cannot sustain this level of friction anymore. We have become so disconnected from our physical selves that we treat our bodies like machines. We expect them to perform on command, to stay sharp, to remain focused, and to switch off instantly when we finally decide it is time to sleep. But you are not a machine. You cannot just flip a switch and erase the accumulation of weeks, months, or years of strain. When you feel that deep, hollow ache in your bones, that is not a design flaw. That is your nervous system doing exactly what it was meant to do, trying to slow you down because you refuse to slow down on your own. It is forcing a pause because it loves you enough to protect you from your own relentless drive. It is deeply emotional to realize how much we ignore the very vessel that carries us through this life. We apologize to others when we are late. We apologize when we cannot meet an expectation. But we rarely apologize to ourselves for pushing past our breaking points. Every time you ignore a headache and push through a task, every time you swallow your hunger or your exhaustion to finish one more thing, you are telling your system that its voice does not matter. You are breaking trust with yourself. The fatigue you feel right now is the accumulated weight of that broken trust. To rebuild that relationship, you have to meet your body where it actually is, not where you wish it would be. If your system is asking for stillness, do not offer it a dynamic workout or a forced social gathering just to feel productive. If your mind is cloudy, stop demanding that it think clearly. Let the fog sit. Let the heaviness exist. There is a profound grief in realizing just how tired you actually are. But inside that grief is the beginning of healing. By allowing yourself to feel the full depth of your exhaustion, you are finally acknowledging the truth of your experience. You are looking at your tired system and saying, "I hear you now. I am paying attention, and I am finally going to let you rest." There is a peculiar habit many of us share, the need to always look like we have everything handled. You might find yourself organizing drawers late at night, or updating your budget spreadsheet when you can barely keep your eyes open. We tell ourselves we are just being responsible. But underneath that productivity is a deep-seated fear of what might happen if we actually stop. We treat rest like a reward we have to earn, rather than a fundamental requirement for living. This endless preparation keeps your nervous system on high alert. Your heart rate stays slightly elevated, your breathing remains shallow, and your mind stays sharp and defensive. You are waiting for an emergency that is not coming. This constant anticipation drains your physical reserves, leaving you feeling empty even on days when nothing explicitly difficult happened. The exhaustion is not from what you did today. It is from the constant readiness you maintained yesterday, and the day before, and the week before that. Think about the quiet desperation of that state. It is the feeling of sitting on the edge of your seat, even when you are supposed to be relaxing. You are physically present in a room, but your mind is miles ahead, scouting for potential problems, calculating risks, and rehearsing conversations. You are guarding against a ghost. We tell ourselves that this hypervigilance is a form of love or responsibility, that if we keep watch, we can protect our world from falling apart. But this illusion of control comes at a devastating cost. It strips away your ability to experience joy in the present moment, because you are always living in a catastrophic future that you have invented just to keep yourself on guard. When did we learn that it was unsafe to just exist? Somewhere along the line, you might have internalized the message that to drop your guard means to invite chaos. So, you keep yourself in a perpetual state of rehearsal. You organize the digital files on your computer. You fix things that aren't broken. And you keep an endless loop of scenarios playing out in your mind. It is a lonely way to live, always acting as the sole guardian of your life, refusing to trust that the world can turn without your constant supervision. You have mistaken hypervigilance for safety, when in reality, it is just a slow, invisible burn that is eating away at your vitality. This illusion makes you believe that the moment you finally finish everything on your list, you will finally be allowed to breathe. But you and I both know that the list never actually ends. The moment one task is crossed off, the mind immediately fabricates 3 more to take its place. It is a trap. It keeps you running on a wheel, chasing a mirage of completion that does not exist. You are waiting for permission from a world that will never give it to you. The realization that you will never truly be done can feel incredibly heavy, but it is also the very truth that can set you free. Let the weight of that realization wash over you for a moment. If the work is never finished, then you do not have to wait for its conclusion to find peace. You can choose to step out of the readiness loop right now, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the incomplete projects and the unanswered messages. You can look at the uncertainty of tomorrow and say, I cannot fight you today. Let your heart rate settle. Let the defensive posture dissolve. The emergency is over, and the only thing requiring your immediate attention right now is the quiet rhythm of your own recovery. When we look at why it is so difficult to pause, we often find that our identity has become completely entangled with our output. If you are not fixing something, planning something, or supporting someone else, who are you in that quiet space? Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This transition into your true self cannot happen when you are running on the fumes of everyone else's expectations. To find out who you are beneath the noise, you have to be willing to step off the treadmill of external demands. Stepping off does not mean abandoning your life, your family, or your career. It means changing your relationship with those responsibilities. It means realizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup, no matter how much you care about the people around you. When you constantly prioritize external pressure over internal stability, you are teaching your body that its comfort does not matter. Restoring safety begins when you reverse that message and decide that your well-being is worth protecting. Think about how terrifying that silence can feel at first. When the treadmill stops moving, the sudden stillness can feel almost deafening. For years, you have used the speed of your life to numb the quiet anxieties underneath. You kept moving so you wouldn't have to face the heavy questions waiting for you in the dark. We tell ourselves we are just being helpful, or that everyone relies on us. But beneath that noble sacrifice is a deep fear of being unneeded. We have built an entire identity around being the person who can handle it all, the one who never breaks down, the one who always figures out a way forward. But who protects the protector? Who carries the person who carries everyone else When you choose to step off that wheel, you will feel a sudden rush of guilt. It will whisper to you that you are letting people down, that you are being selfish, or that everything will fall apart the moment you look away. That guilt is not proof that you are doing something wrong. It is simply the old programming, fighting to keep you trapped in the cycle of exhaustion. It takes a profound emotional breakthrough to realize that your value to the world is not measured by your depletion. You do not have to disintegrate to prove that you care about your responsibilities. Look closely at the demands you have been carrying. How many of them were actually yours to bear? And how many did you pick up along the way because you didn't know how to say no? We swallow our own fatigue to keep the peace for others. We take on extra tasks, adjust our own boundaries, and stretch ourselves so thin that we can feel our spirit tearing at the edges. Every single time you say yes to an external demand that you do not have the capacity for, you are actively stealing energy from your own recovery. You are telling your exhausted system that its survival comes second to someone else's convenience. Letting go of this pattern requires a gentle grieving process. You have to mourn the version of yourself that could do it all. You have to accept that you have limits, and that those limits are beautiful because they make you human. When you step off the treadmill, the world might not stop spinning, and people might have to find their own ways to solve their problems. That is okay. It is a necessary detachment. It allows you to return to your own center, to feel the ground beneath your feet, and to remember what it feels like to live for yourself instead of just performing for an audience. Take a deep, unconditional breath and let the momentum of the world dissolve around you. You are allowed to step down. Safety is not just the absence of danger. It is the presence of connection, stability, and ease within your own skin. For a lot of us, our inner environment has become a harsh place, filled with self-criticism and strict rules. If you make a mistake on a report, or if you forget an appointment, does your inner voice offer comfort, or does it immediately start lecturing you? When our internal dialogue is constantly demanding perfection, our body feels attacked from the inside. To bring safety back, we have to create a softer landing pad within ourselves. This means allowing things to be imperfect. It means letting the living room stay slightly untidy for an evening while you sit quietly, or letting a non-urgent message sit unanswered until tomorrow. It means teaching your system through small and deliberate choices that the world will not fall apart if you take your hands off the wheel for a moment. Think about how deeply exhausting it is to live with a critic who never goes to sleep. We spend so much time trying to secure our external lives, paying bills, maintaining relationships, organizing schedules. Yet we return home to an internal world that feels incredibly hostile. Every time you scold yourself for being too slow or judge yourself for needing a nap, your body perceives that hostility as a real threat. It doesn't know the difference between an external danger and an internal reprimand. To your physical self, a harsh thought feels like an incoming blow. Your heart rate increases, your muscles contract, and you remain trapped in a defensive posture. You cannot heal in an environment where you are constantly under attack from your own mind. Rewriting the meaning of safety means realizing that you no longer have to defend yourself against your own humanity. It requires a profound shift in how you treat your flaws and your moments of weakness. What if the next time you feel completely overwhelmed, you didn't treat it as a failure of discipline? What if you looked at your exhaustion not as a problem to be solved, but as a guest that needs a place to sit down? When you change your response to your own pain from judgment to curiosity, the atmosphere inside your body begins to change. The tight coils of tension in your chest start to unwind because they no longer need to protect you from yourself. This process is deeply emotional because it asks you to break a lifelong habit of self-abandonment. Many of us learned very early that to be safe meant to be flawless, to be beyond reproach, and to never let anyone see us struggle. We built an inner prison out of strict expectations, believing that as long as we followed the rules perfectly, nothing could hurt us. But the prison itself became the source of our deepest pain. True safety is not found in being bulletproof. It is found in knowing that even when you break, even when you fall short, you will be there to pick yourself up with kindness. It is the deep, cellular understanding that you are on your own side. Let yourself feel the relief of lowering those impossible internal standards. You do not need to have a perfect response for everything today. You do not need to be the person who holds it all together without ever showing a wrinkle. Allow yourself to be a person who is tired. Allow yourself to be a person who doesn't know the answer right now. By giving up the demand for perfection, you open a doorway for genuine peace to enter. You are telling your weary heart and your heavy limbs that they are allowed to rest exactly as they are, without needing to justify their existence. You are finally creating a home within yourself where it is safe to just be human. What does it actually mean to let yourself rest? It is not just about lying down while your mind runs a marathon about your finances or your career goals. A true pause involves both the mind and the physical form. It is the moment you sit in a chair and consciously let the furniture carry your full weight instead of holding yourself up. It is the moment you take a breath that expands your belly, rather than stopping short in your chest. Consider the small moments in your day where you can introduce this softness. When you are waiting for water to boil, instead of opening your phone to check the news, you could just stand there and feel your feet flat on the floor. When you are sitting at your desk, you can take 30 seconds to drop your shoulders and uncurl your fingers. These are not time-consuming exercises. They are gentle invitations for your body to return to the present moment, where the imagined emergencies of the future cannot touch you. Think about how rarely we actually yield to the spaces we inhabit. Even when you lie down in your bed at night, if you pay close attention, you might notice that you are still trying to hold yourself together. Your neck is strained against the pillow. Your lower back is hovering slightly off the mattress, and your fists are clenched under the covers. Your body is physically resisting the very support it has been begging for. A true pause is an act of deep, radical surrender. It is a conscious decision to stop fighting gravity. It is the emotional breakthrough of saying, for the next 5 minutes, I do not have to hold up the world. I can let the world hold me. This kind of resting requires a willingness to face the emptiness that comes when the noise stops. We are so used to the constant hum of productivity, the background static of planning, and the steady vibration of anxiety that true stillness can feel incredibly uncomfortable at first. It can feel like falling. When you drop your hands to your sides and stop orchestrating your life, your mind will scramble to find something to fix. It will tell you that you are wasting time, that you are falling behind, or that you are forgetting something vital. Acknowledge that panic without giving into it. Let the thoughts drift past like clouds over a quiet landscape, while you keep your attention anchored right here, in the physical weight of your own existence. We often misunderstand what it means to be present. Being present isn't about clearing your mind of every thought. It is about extending a profound gentleness to whatever is happening inside you right now. If your heart is beating fast, let it beat. If your eyes feel heavy, let them close. If a deep, involuntary sigh tears through your chest, let it escape. This is the anatomy of a true pause. It is the moment you stop trying to manage, alter, or improve your immediate experience. You are giving yourself permission to be exactly as messy, tired, and unpolished as you actually are in this moment. Let yourself feel the immense relief that comes with this surrender. You do not need to prepare for the next hour, the next day, or the next conversation. The world will keep turning without your effort. Let the air move in and out of your lungs without you forcing its pace. Let the tension in your jaw dissolve until your lips part slightly. Let the muscles in your stomach soften completely, releasing the grip you have maintained for so long. You are stepping out of the stream of time and into a quiet room where nothing is demanded of you, nothing is expected, and nothing needs to be achieved. You are simply here. You are safe. You are resting. When you finally choose to slow down, something unexpected often happens. A wave of sadness, irritation, or anxiety might surface. This can be alarming, and many people immediately return to being busy just to avoid these feelings. But this discomfort is actually a natural part of the process. Carl Jung noted, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." When we transition from frantic movement to stillness, we finally hear the emotions we have been suppressing with our busyness. Fatigue itself can feel like an emotional weight. You might feel guilty for being tired, or angry that you cannot do as much as you used to. Instead of fighting these feelings or trying to analyze them away, try to just let them exist. They are simply old echoes of stress leaving your system. When you allow yourself to feel tired without judging yourself for it, you remove a massive layer of internal friction, making room for genuine healing to begin. Think about what happens when a long storm finally ends and the wind stops blowing. The wreckage doesn't disappear immediately. It becomes visible. For months or years, the frantic pace of your life acted as a distraction, keeping a heavy lid on everything you didn't have the time or energy to process. The moment you sit still in a quiet room, that lid comes off. Suddenly, you aren't just physically exhausted, you are emotionally overwhelmed. You might look at a blank wall and feel an intense urge to cry, or feel a deep sense of frustration over small, insignificant things. This is not a sign that your rest is failing. It is a sign that your rest is working. The shadows are finally coming into the light because they finally have the space to do so. We spend so much energy running away from our own vulnerability. We treat tears as an inconvenience and sadness as a symptom that needs to be cured. But your fatigue is holding a mirror up to your soul. It is showing you exactly where you have abandoned yourself, where you have let others cross your boundaries, and where you have pretended to be okay when you were actually breaking inside. Meeting these shadows requires a rare and beautiful kind of bravery. It asks you to sit with your grief without trying to fix it, to let the sadness wash over you without trying to explain it away, and to look at your brokenness and say, "You are welcome here too." There is a profound relief in letting go of the performance of strength. You do not have to be a pillar of resilience every single hour of the day. It is entirely acceptable to look at your life, your responsibilities, and your goals, and feel a quiet sense of grief for how hard it has all been. This grief is not a dead end. It is a doorway. By allowing yourself to feel the full weight of how much you have carried, you are validating your own journey. You are giving your heart the acknowledgement it never received from the outside world. Let the tears come if they need to. Let the anger sit beside you like an old friend who just needs to be heard. These emotions are not your enemies. They are simply the discarded pieces of yourself that you left behind while you were rushing toward the next objective. When you welcome them back into the quiet sanctuary of your pause, the internal war ends. The tight knots of anxiety in your chest begin to soften because they no longer have to keep the truth at bay. You are finally allowing yourself to be whole, not by being perfect, but by being completely honest about how tired you really are. We are conditioned to believe that our value is directly tied to what we achieve. From a young age, we are praised for being productive and resilient. But this creates an unsustainable expectation. You become a person who cannot enjoy a quiet afternoon because a voice inside whispers that you are wasting time. You start evaluating your days based on how many tasks you crossed off, rather than how connected and grounded you felt. Your worth is inherent. It is not a variable that goes up when you work and down when you rest. Think about someone you deeply care about, a close friend or a family member. Do you love them because they are constantly working, or do you love them for their presence, their kindness, and who they are? it is time to extend that same grace to yourself. You deserve care and quietness simply because you exist, not because you reached a specific milestone. Think about the quiet cruelty of treating your own life like a business that must always turn a profit. We wake up and immediately ask ourselves what we can produce today, how we can justify our existence, and how we can earn our spot on this planet for another 24 hours. If we have an unproductive morning, we punish ourselves with guilt for the rest of the day. If we take a nap, we apologize for it, as if we have committed a crime against our potential. This is a heavy, painful way to live. It transforms your mind into a strict manager and your body into a reluctant worker, completely erasing the warmth, creativity, and joy that make being alive worthwhile. When did we decide that simply existing wasn't enough? Somewhere in your past, you might have felt that love and approval were only given to you when you performed well. Maybe you learned that you were only noticed when you were achieving, fixing, or serving. So, you wrapped your identity in a tight cloak of overachievement, believing that if you ever stopped doing, you would become invisible or unlovable. But that is a profound lie. The people who truly love you do not care about your metrics. They do not look at your list of achievements to decide if you are worthy of their affection. They care about the sound of your laughter, the warmth of your gaze, and the peace in your spirit. Let the truth of that sink into your tired chest. You do not have to buy your right to rest with a currency made of sweat, stress, and sleepless nights. Rest is not a luxury reserved for the elite or a prize given to the winners at the end of a grueling race. It is a fundamental biological need, just like the air you breathe and the water you drink. When you deny yourself rest until you are worthy, you are slowly starving your soul. You are telling your heart that it must always perform to be fed. Breaking this cycle is a deeply emotional process because it requires you to stand face to face with the fear of being ordinary, the fear of just being still. It means looking at an afternoon where you did absolutely nothing but sit by a window or listen to the rain, and calling that day a success. It means shifting your vocabulary from "what did I get done today" to "how did I care for myself today?" Give yourself permission to untangle your soul from your labor. Let go of the need to be the hero who handles everything. You are allowed to be weak. You are allowed to be still. You are allowed to take up space on this earth without producing a single thing. Take a deep, unhurried breath and feel the absolute freedom of that truth. You are valuable right now, in this exact second, covered in your fatigue, with all your tasks unfinished. You are enough, simply because you are here. Creating an inner sanctuary means establishing boundaries around your peace. It involves learning how to say no to invitations, projects, or conversations that you simply do not have the capacity for right now. Saying no can feel uncomfortable, especially if you are used to being the person who always steps up. But every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are saying no to your own recovery. This sanctuary is built out of very small, daily choices. It is choosing to turn off the television an hour earlier to sit in a quiet room. It is choosing to take a slow walk around the block without headphones, listening to the ambient sounds of the neighborhood instead of a podcast or music. It is about creating spaces in your life that are completely free from expectations, goals, and metrics. Spaces where you are allowed to just be. Think about what it really means to build a sanctuary. A sanctuary is not a place where you hide away from the world forever. It is a sacred boundary you draw around your remaining energy, a clean slate where the demands of others cannot cross. For so long, you have kept the doors to your life completely open. Anyone could walk in with their problems, their urgency, their expectations, and their noise, and you would gladly give them a piece of your time and your heart. You did it out of kindness, out of love, or perhaps out of a fear of being left behind. But because your doors were always open, the wind has blown away all your quiet spaces. Your inner home has become cluttered with the heavy expectations of a world that does not know how to stop. Building a sanctuary means closing the door for a little while, turning the key, and deciding that the space inside belongs entirely to you. This process is deeply emotional because drawing a boundary often feels like a betrayal to the people we care about. When you start saying, "I can't do that today," or "I don't have the space for this conversation right now," you might feel a sharp pang of guilt. You might worry that you are being selfish, or that people will love you less if you aren't always available to fix their problems. But you have to realize that protecting your peace is an act of survival. If you do not build a wall around your sanctuary, the world will continue to take from you until there is nothing left. Saying no is how you tell your own heart that its life, its quietness, and its health are worth fighting for. It is the moment you stop being a caretaker for everyone else's comfort and start becoming the protector of your own soul. Look around your life right now. Where can you plant the seeds of this sanctuary? It doesn't require a mountain retreat or an elaborate lifestyle change. It is found in the deliberate decision to leave your notebook closed when the workday ends. It is found in the courage to let the phone ring in the other room while you sit on the floor and just listen to the sound of your own breathing. It is found in those precious minutes early in the morning where you refuse to look at your notifications, choosing instead to feel the warmth of a mug between your hands and watch the sunlight slowly move across the floor. These small acts are bricks. Every time you choose your peace over external noise, you are laying another brick in the fortress that protects your exhausted body. Let yourself feel the profound relief of having a space where you do not have to perform, where you do not have to answer to anyone, and where there are absolutely no goals to reach. In your sanctuary, you are not a worker, a manager, a partner, or a provider. You are simply a human being, returning to the center of your own life. Let the walls of this quiet space wrap around you like a warm blanket. Let the demands of the outside world fade into a distant murmur that cannot touch you here You have built this place out of your own courage, and it is here, waiting for you, whenever you are ready to lay your burdens down and just be. Bringing safety back to an exhausted body is not a task you can complete in a single weekend. It is a continuous, daily practice of returning to yourself. It is a gentle negotiation with your habits, a willingness to listen when your physical frame says enough is enough. As you move forward from this moment, remember that letting go of the rush is not a defeat. It is an act of profound courage. Let your breath become a little deeper, your posture a little looser, and your expectations a little kinder. You have traveled a long way, and you have carried a tremendous amount. It is safe to stop now. The world can wait. The tasks will keep, and the demands can hold. For right now, in this exact moment, there is nothing else you need to do. Just let yourself rest. Think about how long you have been hardened against the world. You became strong because you had to be, building walls and tensing your muscles against the continuous pressure of your daily obligations. But that hardness, while it protected you, also kept you isolated from your own life. It kept you from feeling the gentle, quiet joys that can only be experienced when we are soft enough to receive them. Returning to softness is the emotional process of melting that ice. It is looking at your life not as an endless series of obstacles to conquer, but as a space where you are actually allowed to live, to feel, and to breathe. As you step away from this conversation and return to your routine, the temptation to harden will return. The old habits will call out to you, whispering that you need to hurry, that you need to stay on guard, and that you cannot afford to drop your pace. When those moments arrive, do not meet them with frustration or anger. Meet them with a soft, quiet sigh. Remember that you do not have to fix your relationship with rest perfectly today. Every single time you choose to take a slow breath instead of rushing, every time you choose to drop your shoulders instead of clenching your jaw, you are casting a vote for your own survival. You are gently guiding your nervous system back home. There is a beautiful, quiet grief in finally letting go. It is the grief of realizing how unkind we have been to ourselves for so long, and how much pain we forced our bodies to endure just to keep up appearances. Let that grief wash through you, clearing out the old, stagnant reservoirs of stress. Let it soften the edges of your mind until you can look at your exhaustion with tears of compassion instead of frustration. You have been a good caretaker to everyone else. It is finally time to extend that exact same tenderness to the person looking back at you in the mirror. This softness is your natural state. It is the baseline you were born with before the world told you that you had to be faster, stronger, and more productive to be worthy of love. You are not breaking down. You are simply breaking open, shedding the rigid shells that no longer serve you so that your true self can finally emerge. You do not need to apologize for your limits, nor do you need to explain your fatigue to a world that doesn't know how to pause. Your exhaustion is a sacred boundary, and honoring it is the most loving thing you will ever do. So, let the rhythm of your life slow down to match the steady, unhurried beating of your heart. Let the urgent voices of tomorrow fade into nothingness, leaving only the peaceful reality of this present room. You have fought so hard for so long, and you have survived every difficult day that has ever tried to break you. But the battle is over now. You are safe. You are held, and you are entirely free to let your guard down completely. Give yourself permission to dissolve into the quiet comfort of this moment. Close your eyes. Let go of the very last thread of control, and just let yourself rest. We have reached the end of this journey together, but the real practice begins when the silence of this moment fades back into the routine of your life. As you prepare to open your eyes and step back into the world, do not leave this feeling of safety behind in the quiet room. Take it with you as a gentle promise, a vow between your mind and your body that you will never ignore its whispers again. You now know the way back to your center, and you know that toughness is always available to you, just a single, intentional breath away. Before we part, let us seal this promise together. If you didn't have the chance at the beginning, or if your heart has opened up to a new truth during our time together, take a brief moment right now to leave a final affirmation in the comments below. Write down something that anchors you, such as, I promise to listen to my body. I am choosing my peace over the rush. Or simply, I am worthy of stillness. By typing those words out into the world, you are turning a quiet internal realization into a tangible boundary. You are claiming your right to heal in front of a community of souls who are walking this exact same path alongside you. Your words might just be the exact permission someone else needs to read today to finally drop their own heavy armor. Remember that you do not have to conquer tomorrow all at once. When the demands start piling up and the old, familiar urgency tries to claw its way back into your chest, just remember the anatomy of your pause. Give yourself permission to be beautifully, completely imperfect. The world will continue to spin. The tasks will eventually find their place, and your worth will remain entirely untouched by how much you leave unfinished. Thank your body for its incredible resilience, for carrying you through the storms, and for guiding you back home to yourself. You are safe now. You are protected by your own deep kindness.